There's something about nighttime stories that makes them feel different. Maybe it's because most of the things we fear the most happen when the world goes quiet, when you're alone, when no one can hear you scream. Tonight, you're about to hear 3 creepy true horror stories from real people who swear what they experienced still haunts them. These aren't paranormal investigations. These aren't campfire tales. These are the moments that made ordinary people realize they were never truly safe, even in places they thought they knew. So turn off your lights, put on your headphones, and remember, the scariest part of these stories is that they actually happened. Now, here's story 1. The Man Who Watched Me Sleep. My name is Daniel, and this happened in the winter of 2019. At the time, I was staying alone in a small 1-bedroom apartment in Ohio. It wasn't a dangerous neighborhood, but it wasn't exactly the safest either. I mostly kept to myself. Work, home, sleep, repeat. My bedroom window faced an alleyway between my building and another apartment block. The alley was narrow, dark, and so silent at night that even footsteps echoed like someone walking inside your room. I never thought much of it until the night everything changed. It was around 2:40 a.m. when I woke up to a sound that didn't belong. A tap, a single light tap on the window glass. At first, I thought I imagined it. The heating system made noises sometimes, and I was half asleep anyway. But then it came again. Tap. This time I sat up. My room was pitch black except for the faint orange streetlight bleeding through the blinds. I stared at the window, waiting, listening. Nothing. I lay back down slowly, still tense, convincing myself I was overreacting. Then I heard the third tap. 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 Not 1, 2. Soft. Careful. Like someone testing something. I forced myself to get up and peek through the blinds. The alley was empty. No movement. No shadows. Nothing. I went back to bed, telling myself it was an animal or the wind. Anything logical. But deep inside, something didn't feel right. Over the next few nights, I started hearing other things. Footsteps in the alley. Slow, dragging footsteps. Sometimes stopping right beneath my window. Sometimes staying there for minutes. I tried to ignore it, but every night I woke up around the same time, 2:4, 0 to 3 a.m. Like my body already sensed something was wrong. The tapping came back too. Not every night, but often enough that I stopped brushing it off. One night, after hearing footsteps again, I gathered the courage to look. I opened the blinds just a little, just enough for me to see without being seen. At first, the alley looked empty, but then my eyes adjusted, and I froze. A man was standing directly below my window, looking straight up. I couldn't see his face clearly, just the outline of a hooded figure, unmoving, head tilted upward, staring right at me. I stepped back immediately and shut the blinds so fast the cord slapped against the wall. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I didn't sleep that night. After that night, things escalated. The tapping turned into scratching, slow, deliberate scratching on the glass, like a fingernail being dragged across it. And one night, I heard a voice, a low whisper, so faint I thought I was dreaming. "Are you awake?" I froze. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I couldn't tell if the voice was inside or outside. The words sounded like they were right next to me. I sat in the dark for hours, gripping my phone, too scared to open the blinds, too scared to check the window, afraid of who might be waiting on the other side. One morning, after yet another sleepless night, I noticed something that sent chills through me. On the outside of my bedroom window, the second-floor window, there were faint smudges, fingerprints, but not normal fingerprints. They were perfectly shaped, clear. They belonged to someone who had pressed their hand against the glass, looking in. I realized then that whoever had been watching me had been doing it for a while, and they were getting bolder. I'll never forget this night. Never. It was a Thursday around 1:50 a.m. I had gone to bed early because I was exhausted, but something woke me up. Not a sound, not movement, a feeling, the feeling that someone else was in the room. I opened my eyes slowly. At first, everything was blurry, but then I saw it, a silhouette, standing in the corner of my bedroom, tall, still, facing me. I blinked hard, thinking I was hallucinating, but the shape didn't move. Then it took a step forward. My blood went cold. My window was open, wide open. I didn't even hear it slide up. I scrambled off the bed and grabbed the lamp beside me, flipping it on. But the corner was empty. Nobody was there. My heart sank as my eyes drifted to the window. It wasn't just open. The screen had been cut, neatly, cleanly, like someone had used a knife. I rushed to the living room, grabbed my phone, locked myself inside the bathroom, and called the police. They arrived within minutes and searched the building. They found footprints outside my window, leading back into the alley and disappearing behind the dumpsters. But no person, no suspect, no explanation, just evidence someone had been inside my room. 2 days later, police knocked on my door again with an update. Across the alley, in the opposite building, they found an abandoned apartment whose window directly faced mine. Inside, they found signs someone had been staying there illegally. A mattress on the floor, rotten food containers, a pile of clothing, and worst of all, photos of me, sleeping, eating, using my computer, sitting in my living room. Some were taken through my window, some from inside my apartment. The man had been inside before, more than once. Police never caught him. I moved out the same week and never looked back. But until today, I can't sleep without checking every window at least twice. And sometimes, when everything is quiet, I swear I still hear tapping. Story 2. The woman at the bus stop. My name is Mira, and this incident happened in 2017 when I was studying in Kuala Lumpur. I lived in a hostel far away from the main road, so I had to walk every morning to a public bus stop about 15 minutes away. It wasn't dangerous or anything, just quiet, with lots of old trees and dim street lights. Every day felt normal, until one night changed everything, and no matter how much I try to forget, the memory still plays in my mind like a broken recording. It was 9:45 p.m. I had stayed late at university to work on an assignment, and by the time I walked to the bus stop, the area was unusually empty. I remember thinking the air felt colder than usual, but I brushed it off and sat on one of the metal benches. The street was quiet, too quiet. I was scrolling on my phone when I heard footsteps, slow, soft, dragging. I looked up and saw a woman standing near the lamppost across the road. She was wearing a long, old-fashioned white dress that touched the ground. Her hair was long and straight, almost covering her face. She didn't move. She didn't look around. She just stood there, facing me. At first, I assumed she was a normal passerby waiting for someone, but something about the way she stood felt wrong. Her posture was stiff, unnaturally stiff, like her feet were planted deep into the ground. I looked back at my phone, trying not to overthink, but when I looked again, she was closer, not walking, not turning, just suddenly closer to the bus stop. I froze. Did she move? Or did I misremember the distance? I kept telling myself not to panic, so I focused on my phone again. And then I heard it, a whisper, but not from far away, from behind me, so close it felt like someone's mouth was right next to my ear. Is your bus coming? I whipped around so fast I almost fell off the bench. No one was there. The woman was still on the opposite side of the street, in the exact same position. I didn't even wait for the bus. I stood up and walked home as fast as I could without running. I didn't want to look back, and by halfway into my walk, I felt a sudden urge. A strong, heavy feeling, like something wanted me to turn around. So I did. And she was standing at the same bus stop where I'd been sitting moments earlier, facing me. I went home trembling. I didn't want to take the bus the next day, but I had no choice. I reached the stop earlier this time, around 6:30 p.m. while it was still bright. People were around. Cars passed. Everything felt normal. I convinced myself the woman was just some mentally unstable person or maybe someone playing a prank. Night came again, and I found myself at the same stop, 9:40 p.m. The bus was late. Again. I was alone. Again. And when I looked across the road, she was there. The same woman, same dress, same posture. But this time, her head was tilted slightly to the side, as if she was trying to study me. I clenched my jaw and looked away, but curiosity forced me to peek again. This time she was closer, right at the edge of the curb. I felt my stomach turn. Everything inside me screamed to leave, but I stood frozen. The streetlight flickered above her, and that's when I saw her face. Her hair fell just enough for the light to reveal a pale, dead-looking face. Her eyes, they weren't normal. They were too wide, too open, and her lips were stretched into a smile that didn't look human. Not like someone smiling happily, more like someone pulling their skin back too tightly, exposing too many teeth. That was when my bus arrived. I got on without thinking twice, but the moment the bus drove past her, I saw her head turn, following me perfectly, as if her neck could rotate unnaturally far. That night, I didn't sleep. After 2 nights, I was terrified of going out, but I had an exam the next morning. So again, I walked to the bus stop. I kept repeating in my head, "Don't look, don't look, don't look." The bus stop came into view. I didn't see her across the street. I felt relief wash through me. Maybe she wasn't real. Maybe I imagined everything. I sat down, took a deep breath. But then, from the corner of my eye, a flash of white. My heart jumped. She was sitting next to me. I didn't hear her walk. I didn't feel movement. She was just suddenly there. Her long hair covered most of her face. Her dress looked dirtier than before, stained at the bottom like she had been dragging through mud. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even turn to look directly. Then she spoke. Her voice wasn't whispery this time. It was clear, soft, but horribly wrong. "Why do you go home late, Mira?" My bones froze. I never told her my name. I didn't move. I didn't answer. She slowly turned her face toward me. I could hear her neck cracking, bones shifting, as if her skull was grinding against itself. When her face was fully turned, her eyes met mine. They were empty, black, hollow, like deep holes drilled into a dead body. Her lips stretched into that same inhuman smile. "Don't look away." I shut my eyes tightly, shaken. And then, a loud horn. My bus had arrived. I opened my eyes, and she was gone. Just gone. No sound of footsteps, no rustling, nothing. I rushed onto the bus, but as it began to move, I looked out the window. She was standing right behind the bus shelter, facing me, and smiling wide. I decided I wasn't taking the bus again, ever. I begged my senior to drop me home, and he agreed. But that night, at around 2:30 a.m., I woke up to my phone vibrating. An unknown number was calling. I answered without thinking. A woman's voice spoke. "Why didn't you come today?" My blood turned to ice. "I waited for you. I couldn't breathe." Then, in the faint background of the call, I heard something that made every hair on my body stand. The sound of the bus stop's lamp buzzing. She was calling me from the bus stop. I threw my phone across the room. I told my hostel warden everything, crying and terrified. She listened quietly, and then her expression changed. Deep shock, fear, recognition. "Mira, don't ever go to that bus stop at night, ever again." I asked her what she meant. She sat down slowly beside me and said, 5 years ago, a woman was hit by a car at that stop. Her body was dragged under the lamppost. She died instantly, waiting for her bus. I felt my breath stop. She waits there every night, the warden whispered. Some students have seen her. Some ignored her. Some even followed her voice. What happened to them? I asked with a trembling voice. She looked away. They never came back. I never used that route again. I changed hostels, changed my entire routine. But sometimes, when I pass a bus stop at night, I still feel someone watching me. And once, at a stop near my new hostel, I saw a woman in a long white dress standing far away under a faint streetlight, smiling. Story 3. The Thing That Watched Me Sleep. My name is Jason, and for most of my adult life, I never believed in ghosts. I grew up watching horror stories on YouTube, laughing at the comments, telling myself nothing like that could ever happen to me. But that changed 2 years ago when I moved into a small apartment in Penang. I was working as a junior technician at the time. Low salary, long hours, and barely enough to survive. So when I found a studio apartment for cheap, almost too cheap, I signed the rental agreement without thinking twice. It was the top floor of a 4-story walk-up building, the kind of place nobody really wants because it's too far from the ground, too quiet, and too isolated. But I liked the quiet, at least at first. When I moved in, the landlord gave me one strange warning. Try not to leave your windows open at night, especially after 2 a.m. I asked why. He shrugged. Just trust me, the wind up here can get weird. I didn't think much of it. Maybe he meant strong drafts or something. But the first week went by normally, until the night I woke up and realized I wasn't alone. It was around 3:15 a.m. when I woke up with a sudden jolt. No nightmare, no sound, just the feeling of something tugging me out of sleep. The room was dark except for the light from the street lamp outside. I didn't move at first, didn't breathe, didn't even blink, because something felt wrong. Not dangerous, not threatening, just wrong. You know that heavy, suffocating feeling you get when someone stares at the back of your head? That's the exact feeling that filled the room, like someone was standing somewhere near me, watching. Slowly, without turning my head, I scanned the room with my eyes. Nothing. No sound. No figure. No movement. But that feeling, heavy and suffocating, didn't fade. Then I noticed it. My bedroom window was open. I never left it open. Not at night. Not when I slept. And as the curtain fluttered, I realized the wind blowing in wasn't strong, but cold. Unnaturally cold. Like the air from inside a freezer. I got out of bed, shut the window, and went back to sleep. But the feeling of being watched stayed with me. The next few nights were quiet, but on the 6th night, the scratching started. It was around 1:40 a.m. I was sitting at my desk editing some work files when I heard a faint scratching coming from the corner of the room. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I paused my music, listened closely. The sound was coming from the wall right behind my bed. I knocked on the wall. Silence. Then, scratch, scratch, scratch. This time, louder, like something on the other side of the wall was dragging its nails across the plaster. There was no neighboring unit behind that wall. It was an empty storage space according to the blueprint the landlord showed me. So who, or what, was scratching? I knocked again, harder. The scratching stopped instantly, too instantly. That was the first night I felt real fear. On the 10th night, things escalated. I woke up at 3:03 a.m. to the sound of my curtains moving, not gently, but violently, as if someone was shaking them from outside. I sat up straight, heart pounding. My window was open again. I swear I'd kept it closed. Shaking, I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight, and that's when I saw her. A woman, standing outside my 4th floor window, her fingers gripping the metal bars, her long black hair covering her face, her white dress plastered against her thin body from the wind. But her head wasn't facing me. It was tilted downward, like she was looking at something on the ground below. My breath caught in my throat. How is she standing there? My window had no ledge, no balcony, nothing. She was just floating. I didn't move, not even a little. The woman slowly lifted her head, her hair fell away from her face, and she looked directly at me. Her eyes were wide, too wide, like they had been stretched open. Her mouth moved slowly, as if she was trying to speak through dried, cracked lips. But no sound came out. I slammed the window shut so fast I cut my hand on the latch. I didn't sleep again. The next morning, I demanded answers. I marched down to the landlord's office and told him everything. He didn't look surprised, not even a little. Instead, he sighed. I told you not to open the windows at night. I didn't open them, I shouted. Something else did. He rubbed his forehead. Look, the previous tenant in your unit, she killed herself, jumped from the 4th floor, right outside your window. My stomach twisted. She jumped from my room. He gave a small nod. People say she still tries to climb back inside, looking for something she lost. Some nights she scratches the walls. Some nights she hangs outside the window. He looked me dead in the eyes. Do not open that window again. I wanted to argue, to demand he take responsibility. But deep down, I knew he was telling the truth. I saw her. I wasn't crazy. For the next week, I made sure the window stayed locked. I even pushed my wardrobe against it. No more scratching. No more shaking curtains. But the presence, it didn't go away. Every night around 3 a.m., I woke up gasping for air, my chest heavier than before. It felt like someone was sitting on top of me. A cold pressure. Not enough to crush me, but enough to paralyze me for a few seconds. One night, while I lay frozen, unable to move, I heard breathing. Not mine. Someone else's. Slow, raspy, right next to my left ear. Then a whisper. I found a way in. My entire body convulsed. I broke free from the paralysis and stumbled out of bed. The room was empty, but something had changed. This wasn't just a ghost outside my window anymore. She was inside. I didn't sleep the next night, or the night after, but eventually exhaustion took over. The next time I fell asleep, I woke up to a sound that makes my skin crawl even today. Tap, tap, tap. Not on the window, not on the wall, but on my floor. I slowly lifted my head, barely breathing, and in the faint glow from the streetlight, I saw a figure, not standing, not floating, crawling. A woman crawling across my room on her hands and twisted feet, her limbs bending at unnatural angles, her hair dragging behind her like a black veil, her head rotating slightly with each movement, cracking like broken bones. She crawled toward my bed, slow, deliberate, her pale face tilted up at me, and her smile, God, her smile. It stretched so wide it looked like her skin would tear. She reached the foot of my bed, and then she stood, bone by bone, in a slow, unnatural motion, her face inches from mine. You opened the window for me. I didn't, I choked out. Her grin widened. You dreamed you didn't. That was it. I couldn't stay another second. I grabbed my phone, ran out the door, and slept at a 24-hour cafe until sunrise. The next day, I packed all my belongings and told the landlord I was terminating the lease. He didn't argue. He didn't even charge me extra. He just said, "You lasted longer than the others." That was the last thing he ever said to me. I moved out by evening, but that night in my new place, as I lay in bed trying to shake off what happened, I heard a soft whisper beside me. I found you. If you enjoyed this story and want more dark, disturbing, and unexplained true horror, make sure to subscribe to Dark Vision. Hit the like button, share this with your friends, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. This is Dark Vision, where the night never ends.